What if, one day, the mitochondria, or nucleus powerhouse, were to gain a consciousness of its own? Now, what would happen if it decided that you, as a human, were less superior species and rebelled against your own body? This is what happens in Parasite Eve, a 1998 cinematic RPG developed by Square Enix, but at the time they would be known as Squaresoft. In today's video, I want to sort of go back in time and pull a game from long ago that may have been forgotten by many, or just may have gone past your radar. Leave a like and subscribe, and let's talk about this game. So this is a survival horror cinematic RPG, but what does that mean? Well, at the time, the game was meant to look and feel as if you were playing a movie with its visuals and opera music playing throughout the cutscenes. We have established what cinematic means in this case, and I don't think I need to explain what a survival horror game is, but think things such as inventory and resource management, creepy or eerie environments, and grotesque monsters. But how does it play as an RPG? I want to say that this game was developed in a time period set by Square where they were basically just experimenting with different combat designs, and it's definitely interesting how they took the approach to combat here. In Parasite Eve, there are semi-random encounters, and I feel like that's self-explanatory, so I don't need to explain that. But how you engage as the combat is a little different. This game presents a mix of real-time with turn-based, with all the actions besides movement costing energy. Think of this as active time battle before it was known as ATB. There will be a bar that continuously fills, and when it does fill, you're allowed one action. That action could be like attack or swap weapons, heal, things of the sort. When that action is used, then the bar will be depleted and you have to spend some time dodging an enemy attack, CC, until your attack bar is full again in order to counterattack or to perform another action. You also have access to parasite abilities that use a separate bar that fills while you are in battle but at a much slower rate than your attack bar. These abilities come with things such as scanning for enemy weaknesses, granting haste, essentially making yourself faster and the attack bar charge faster, giving you basically more actions in less time, or even a barrier. These are just some of the things that you unlock as you play though. There's also a lot of weapons that you can tailor with things such as rapid fire speed, more range, more bullets. It's crazy. What is Parasite Eve about though? Play as Aya Brea, a police officer in 1997 New York City who one night attends the opera. During the performance, however, everyone but her and the main singer, Melissa, are spontaneously combusted before the main singer runs off to the backstage. Once Aya catches up with her, Melissa turns into this grotesque monster and adopts the name Eve before fleeing into the sewers. It is then your job as a player to find out what Eve is planning, why Aya was not set aflame like the rest of the audience, and how to stop Eve. Being a late 90s RPG, you can expect there to be no voice acting, but the sound design does a great job of helping to tell the story. The more you play, the more you sense the feeling of loneliness and dread. The soundtrack features a mix of what reminds me at times like jungle, drum and bass, and at other times such a synth ambience fusion that makes my head nod like this shit goes hard. Why is this an uncovered gem? I call it uncovered given the time it was released. It was overshadowed by major hits like Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy VII. Another reason is that since this was a very experimental game by Square Enix design, there is a mix of genres that just didn't mesh well to a lot of people. And for some reason, people are afraid to emulate, as this is a PlayStation 1 game, so unless you have one of those lying around, actually not even that, you'd also have to get the game as well, and good luck on finding that. But besides the point, this is a gem for how unique it is, and I can appreciate it because to me, this game was somewhat ahead of its time. People don't realize, but Parasite Eve helped pave the way for a lot of hybrid RPGs, with Aya Brea still being underutilized as a protagonist by Square. They literally gave her the Toy Story treatment, like that one meme that's I don't want to play with you anymore, and then Andy tosses Woody to the side. That's Aya in this game, to me, and maybe a lot of you who did play this game in the past. Parasite Eve is weird, it's engaging, it's chilling for an era that it came out with, and I can respect that. It's unforgettable. If you were looking for a horror or RPG, or maybe even something off the path and in between, I would say, hey, boot up the emulator if you want a little bit of retro gaming while appreciating the era a lot of modern systems came from. Hope you've enjoyed this though. This has been Grief.